This maxi skirt is suitable for beginners and is perfect for any weather. This is a little bit different than the usual tiered skirt I've been seeing all around. What I really like about this pattern is how the pocket is hidden and how glowy the skirt is. Let's get started. After downloading the pattern, click print and then choose your printer. You can scroll down and click more settings and change the scale to 100. Then you can click print. My tip is to print the first page first and then measure the boxes to make sure you have the correct measurements and the print settings. Then you can go ahead and print rest of the pages, and that way you can save yourself some paper. After you've done that, you can start arranging your pattern. But before that, I just want to show you another hack that I do to make sure that the pages are aligned. So I fold in the corners of the pattern and align the circle at the top and the bottom of the pattern. And this literally saves me so much time when arranging the pattern, because we all know that this takes so much more time than we think. After arranging everything, it should look something like this. Then after that, you can go ahead and cut the pattern. You should end up with something like this. You should end up with a main piece, a lining piece, a pocket, and the waistband. Now to cut your pattern, grab your fabric and fold it in half. Then place the center of the main skirt piece on the folded part of the fabric and cut. But if you're like me, and if you don't have enough fabric to place the pattern on the folded part, you can fold your fabric in half and place your pattern on the fabric and just cut, just like the video. And just make sure that you leave about 1 centimeter in the center for your seam allowance, so you can sew 2 halves to make 1 piece. Cut the rest of your pattern, and once you're done, you should end up with 2 main skirt pieces, 2 lining pieces, 1 waistband, and 4 pockets. If you decided to cut 2 halves of the main piece, just like me, place the right sides together and sew a straight stitch down the middle and a zigzag stitch to overlock the edges. Then iron all your pieces. Fold the waistband lengthwise and iron. By the way, always remember to iron in between steps to make sure that your fabric is flat and neat. Iron all your remaining pieces. So we'll start with the lining. This is optional, so you can skip this part for now and you'll see why later. But if you want to sew the lining, grab your lining fabric and place the right sides facing each other and pin the sides together. Sew a straight stitch with a 1 centimeter seam allowance, which is already included, and use the guide on your sewing machine to help you with that. Then use a serger to finish the edges if you have one, but if not, you can finish the edges with a zigzag stitch. So with your main piece, we're gonna attach the pockets to the skirt. So start by placing the skirt wrong sides facing each other, and then take one of your pocket piece and place the curved side towards the center of the skirt. Align the edge of the pocket to the edge of the skirt and pin. Repeat on the other side as well as the other fabric. Sew the sides of the pocket with a straight stitch and a 1 centimeter seam allowance. It should look something like this, and repeat with the remaining 3 pockets. After you've done that, flip the pocket so the right side are facing out. Feel free to iron here. Then top stitch as close to the edge as possible. It will turn out really neat just like that. Repeat with the remaining pockets. Now place the right sides of the skirt together and making sure that the pockets are out. Align the pockets as well as the sides and then pin it in place. Sew a straight stitch along the sides, around the pocket, and also finish the edges with an overlocker or with a zigzag stitch. After that, you can check your pockets. This is honestly my favorite part because this is like the first step when the skirt is actually coming together and the pocket works. Now we're moving on to the waistband. Sew a base stitch along the waistband. Change your stitch length to the longest and the tension to the lowest. I'm choosing about 1.5, so between 0 and 1 for my tension. Start by sewing one side of the skirt. Make sure to leave a really long thread at the start and the end. And then sew another base stitch about 1 centimeter below the first base stitch. And then you can repeat on the other side. So you're sewing the base stitch 4 times, 2 on the front of the skirt and twice on the back of the skirt. Now we can measure the waistband. Grab your elastic and wrap it around your waist and take off about 5 centimeters depending on how tight you want it to be. I like mine to be comfortable around my waist, so I'm not making it too tight. It's a little bit tight, but it's comfortable still. And remember to leave about 2 to 3 centimeters for your seam allowance later. You can leave the elastic aside for now and we'll go back to the skirt. Grab the long tail that you made earlier and pull it together the skirt. I like to pull both sides of the thread and adjust it towards the center. Grab your waistband and fold it in half. This will be the guide for how much fabric you need to gather. You may not have much together at this point or at all, and that's okay. Don't freak out. The elastic will make it gather a lot more when we attach it later on. After gathering, you can sew a normal straight stitch to secure the gathered fabric. Now turn your skirt inside out and we can start inserting the lining. This part is totally optional. If you're using fabric that is not see-through, you can skip this part. I personally recommend skipping this part because it can make your skirt look a little bit bulky, especially around the waist and the hip area because of how much it's going to be gathering later. And the lining pattern is also much smaller than the main skirt pattern, so it might not stretch as much. much later. Anyway, what I'm doing is basically placing my lining inside my main skirt with the wrong sides facing each other, and then all I'm doing is pinning it all around and sewing a straight stitch. Now for the waistband. Grab your iron and fold about 1 centimeter of the fabric towards the center lengthwise and iron it. Then place the shorter part right sides facing each other, pin it in place and sew a straight stitch. Iron the seam flat. Place the waistband over the skirt with the right sides facing each other. The folded part that you just ironed should be at the bottom. Align one side of the skirt and the waistband and pin. Then align the other side of the skirt and the waistband and pin it in place. So this way it's easier for you to pin it all around. After all the pinning, it should look really nice and neat, just like that. And now you can sew around the waistband. And this is what I mean earlier with the lining. This honestly took me pretty long because of how thick the fabric is. So skip the lining if you can. Now flip the skirt inside out and flip the waistband over. Place the waistband over the gathered part of the fabric so it kind of hides your base stitch that you did before, and then repeat it all around the waistband, pinning it in place as you go. Now sew all around the waistband, leaving a gap at the side for the elastic. So for the elastic, I'm just using a safety pin to help me insert it a little bit easier. So start by inserting the elastic into one side of the waistband and kind of push the safety pin through the waistband. The waistband might gather a lot more here, so make sure you really hold on to the other side of the elastic. Overlap the fabric and sew it a couple of times to make sure it's really secure. I sewn mine like that. Adjust the elastic a little bit and you can feel free to try it on at this point to make sure it fits. Then sew the gap shut. Iron the skirt so it's nice and flat. Make sure you get the corners and the waistband as well. Now the very last step is to finish the raw edges at the bottom of the skirt. You can finish yours however you like. I'm finishing it with a rolled hem. So fold about 1 centimeter from the edge towards the center and iron. Then fold again and iron the second time. Then sew a straight stitch all around. And that's it, you're done. You've just made your very own maxi skirt with pockets. I really hope you found this video helpful. Let me know what you think of this video and feel free to ask any questions that you have. And the link for this pattern is linked down below as usual. Bye!